Hi, welcome to This Month in RAD Studio for June 2019. I'm Malcolm Groves from Code Partners. To kick us off this month, I want to talk about TMS software. They've been on a bit of a tear lately, publishing a lot of information and tutorials and articles about their TMS Web Core product. If you're not aware what Web Core is, it's a framework and also an IDE for doing web development. It's not in RAD Studio, but for RAD Studio developers, you'll be very familiar and very comfortable in this environment. It feels a lot. It works in the same way as the products you're used to in Delphi or C++ Builder. As I say, they've been publishing a lot of information lately. So if you go to their website, you'll see there's a heap of articles that are up there. But I've pulled out one and put it in the notes below because it's a series of videos that they're doing on building a full web application, a back end in Delphi and a front end in Web Core. So if you're at all interested in building very modern web applications using your RAD Studio skills, your C++ Builder or Delphi skills, then you should definitely check out TMS Web Core's video that I've put in the links below. Also this month, AquaData Studio have announced support for Interbase. If you're not aware of what AquaData Studio is, it's a database management tool and also an IDE for database development. It connects to a bunch of different databases on the back end. In their latest release, they've just announced that they've added Interbase support, amongst other things. I've used it a little bit and been quite impressed with what I've seen of it so far, but I know people who've used it more extensively and they tend to rave about it. So if you're using Interbase, or even if you're not using Interbase but you're interested, you do a lot of work with databases, then worth checking that out. Also, if you are a RAD Studio, Delphi or C++ Builder Architect customer, you already have AquaData Studio in the box. You may not be aware of that, but that's one of the products that's bundled into the architect level of the IDEs. So in that case, definitely worth checking out because you may already have it. Yeah. Let's talk about Embarcadero a little bit. They are continuing their Enterprise Connectors webinars. Earlier this month, they had one on Twilio and SurveyMonkey, I think. And they're about to have one any day now on Excel and Slack. So if you're not aware of Enterprise Connectors, what I've just said may not make an awful lot of sense. But basically, Enterprise Connectors are FireDAC drivers. Yeah, just like you can get FireDAC drivers for lots of different databases, you can get Enterprise Connectors, which provides you with a whole bunch of FireDAC drivers, 130 odd, I think, from memory. But rather than being drivers that connect to a back-end database, they're drivers that connect to an application and expose the data in that application as if it were a database. So you can throw SQL against it, you can call stored procedures, but instead of invoking a back-end database, it's invoking an application. For example, I've used a few of their different drivers, but one in particular which speaks to Salesforce. So rather than having to get familiar with the REST API for Salesforce and make calls to it and work out what all of the API calls and the parameters and the return sets are, I can just do a select star from accounts and get back the accounts out of Salesforce. I can use where clauses, I can do joins, there's a whole bunch of support for things that you can do. So for a RAD Studio developer who's already familiar with data sets and queries and those sorts of things, data aware controls, this really dramatically extends your reach from not just a bunch of different databases, but a whole bunch of different applications. Yeah, worth having a look at. If you want to get a deeper look without going too far, the two webinars that I mentioned, one's available as a replay now, and one's available, I would imagine, soon, a few days probably after we publish this, available as a replay. They're also doing this month with this spotlight, they're doing a thing where if you register for the webinars, you get the two drivers that they're talking about for free. So again, fairly low low risk, low effort way to get some experience with this. Also be aware that this month, and there's not many days left in this month, I know, but this month Embarcadero are running a promotion where enterprise people who purchase Enterprise and Architect copies of the products get the full set of Enterprise connectors. So there's only a few days left to go, but worth checking out. And if you were looking at maybe upgrading or purchasing in the short-term future anyway, it might be worth doing it within June so that you can take advantage of those promotions. Lastly, last month I mentioned that Embarcadero have been publishing a bunch of information around RAD Server, webinars, books, blog posts. That has continued, and so there's been 2 new articles posted since the last episode. One is around a fairly deep dive into your configuration options when it comes to RAD Server. So that's definitely worth a read, because a little knowledge and a little tweaking in that area can really extend the performance and the benefits of RAD Server. The other one is around generating documentation for your RAD Server API. If you think about it, RAD Server is about easily exposing a REST API. People who consume that REST API are probably going to want documentation on it. And so RAD Server supports what's pretty much the industry standard way of documenting REST APIs, which is Swagger. And so this article goes into detail about how you can configure that and how you can generate your documentation sort of dynamically, so it's always up to date. Okay, that's it for this month. I'm getting better at keeping these short, I think. I'm sure you'll tell me. If I'm not, you'll give me feedback on that. On that topic, feedback is definitely welcome. What you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. All of the links in the show notes below to how you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all the other places. Here, if you're watching this in YouTube, you can subscribe here and get notified when the next episode is available. Otherwise, have a great month. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, I hope you get through all of the end of financial year madness okay. We'll see you back here next month for the next episode of This Month in RAD Studio. Cheers.